I'm standing here today at 4000 West Esplanade Avenue in front of Congregation Gates of Prayer, a Reform Synagogue in Metairie. But what lies behind me is more than meets the eye. Inside this building, a second house of worship also meets, Congregation Beth Israel, an Orthodox synagogue formerly of Lakeview. 4 years ago, the storm surge from Hurricane Katrina led to a breach in the 17th Street Canal levee wall, bringing 10 feet of flood water rushing through Lakeview and into Beth Israel Synagogue. All the contents of the synagogue were completely destroyed. Soon after, Gates of Prayer's rabbi and leadership extended open arms and welcomed Beth Israel into their chapel to use as temporary worship space. What followed has been a unique story of religious partnership with two synagogues coming from different ends of the Jewish denominational spectrum, Orthodox and Reform, operating in separate spaces under a single roof. Of course, this arrangement has its challenges too.
What challenges? Other than a few times a year when all of our members show up, I think we're doing just fine.
Their mahitza was definitely a new one for our maintenance crew.
Let's catch up with the rabbis of these two congregations and hear more about the details of this partnership. We've arranged to walk into their weekly study session.
Welcome. Rabbi Uri and I are studying together as we often do. Here's our text in the Hebrew. I focus on the Hebrew, he focuses on the English, or maybe it's the other way around, I forget. In any event, this morning we were looking at a passage from the Midrash that comes from Jerusalem. It seems there were two brothers. Each lived on one side or the other of a mountain. They harvested together, and then at the night, the single brother would bring extra produce to the married brother, thinking that the married brother had family, children, needed the money. It's funny, the married brother felt badly for his single brother, thought he needed more in his life, and so he would bring it. It's a beautiful story, don't you think?
It's true, and it happens every night. They go back and forth, each one bringing produce to the other, not realizing that they're helping each other out. And one night they bump into each other in the middle of the field, and the whole story unravels. And the rabbis say that's where the third temple was built. It's great sermon material.
You're right. I have an idea. I'll use it in my Rosh Hashanah sermon, evening. You use it in your Rosh Hashanah evening sermon. No one will know the difference.
Rabbis, if we could interrupt your study session now and ask you a few questions about the relationship your synagogues have shared these past 4 years in this building, and perhaps some of the challenges as well. In the meantime, we'll show the viewers a little bit of our own investigative reporting.
I remember one of the first issues that we faced when I moved here was I really wanted to have some kind of identification for the synagogue, some signage outside, and your leaders were so gracious when I raised the issue.
I remember about the sign. I think it was a little more of a challenge, but we were able to keep things smooth. And of course, we've had a little bit of a challenge dealing with the kitchen, but somehow we managed to keep certain space designated kosher for Beth Israel and Beth Israel's kitchen crew, which comes in all the time.
Yeah, I think it was a bit tricky keeping all the food separate in the refrigerator, but we managed that just fine. And of course, we shared so much Torah together that we were able to bring beautiful ideas back to our respective congregations. I was studying this morning with my dear friend and colleague, Rabbi Lowy, my senior friend who has much wisdom and experience of years, and he taught me something from the Sisters of Reform Judaism, a beautiful text that comes right out of the new Women's Torah commentary from the Reform community. A beautiful text. It should be in every one of our pews here at Beth Israel. We need to blend more of the women's voice with our traditional male voice in our congregation.
Yes, I have learned some amazing teachings together with Rabbi Uri. You know, my friends, the other day, I was studying with Rabbi Uri, that handsome young scholar, from the Safat Emet, an 18th century text of Orthodox learning. about the battle between the good inclination and the evil inclination. It's a tug of war. We're being pulled. Directions of liberalism and traditionalism, traditionalism and liberalism. We have to find the right way, teaches the Safat Emet.
I have also learned a lot from my colleague, Rabbi Lowy, who is the senior rabbi in town, about how to present myself to my congregation in a more mature and experienced fashion.
Yes, working with Rabbi Uri, I think I've matured, and our congregants really appreciate it. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the coolest rabbi of all?
Our investigative reporting produced one final heartwarming shot that truly sums up the story of these two synagogues.
You know, we have so much space here at Gates of Prayer. You know, why can't we just move some of these re-subdivision stakes just a little few feet closer towards our side of things, give our brothers and sisters from Beth Israel a little more breathing room? The parish won't care.
We're such a small congregation. Gates of Prayer has been so generous to us during this process. Why don't I pick up these re-subdivision stakes and move them back a few feet and give them a little bit more space for their children?
Wait, I thought I moved this stake. This doesn't make sense. I'm gonna move it back so that they have more room.
Our property keeps looking bigger and bigger every night. Let me just keep moving these stakes a few more feet and give Gates of Prayer the room that they deserve.